will continue to improve modestly during the next 6 to 12 months, but levels of insurgent and sectarian violence will remain high, and the Iraqi government will continue to struggle to achieve national-level political reconciliation and improve governance. Governor, if that's the best we can hope for, should we continue the surge?
We have to continue the surge. And let me explain why, Chris. When I was a little kid, if I went into a store with my mother, she had a simple rule for me. If I picked something off the shelf at the store and I broke it, I bought it. I learned, don't pick something off the shelf I can't afford to buy. Well, what we did in Iraq, we essentially broke it. It's our responsibility to do the best we can to try to fix it before we just turn away, because something is at stake. Senator McCain made a great point. And let me make this clear. If there's anybody on this stage that understands the word honor, I've got to say Senator McCain understands that word, because he has given his country a sacrifice the rest of us don't even comprehend. And on this issue, when he says we can't leave until we've left with honor, I 100% agree with him, because, Congressman, whether or not we should have gone to Iraq is a discussion that historians can have, but we're there. We bought it because we broke it. We've got a responsibility to the honor of this country and to the honor of every man and woman who has served in Iraq and ever served in our military, to not leave them with anything less than the honor that they deserve.
Go ahead. You wanted to respond? He just addressed you. You go ahead and respond.
The American people didn't go in. A few people advising this administration, a small number of people called the neoconservatives, hijacked our foreign policy. They're responsible, not the American people. They're not responsible. We shouldn't punish them.
Congressman, we are one nation. We can't be divided. We have to be one nation under God. That means if we make a mistake, we make it as a single country, the United States of America, not the divided States of America.
When we make a mistake, it is the obligation of the people through their representatives to correct the mistake, not to continue the mistake.
And that's what we do on the floor of the Senate?
No, we've dug a hole for ourselves, and we've dug a hole for our party. We're losing elections, and we're going down next year if we don't change it, and it has all to do with foreign policy, and we have to wake up to this fact.
Even if we lose elections, we should not lose our honor, and that is more important than the Republican Party.
We have lost over 5,000 Americans killed in Afghanistan. We've lost over 5,000 Americans over there in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and plus the civilians killed. How many more do you want to lose? How long are you going to be there? How long? What do we have to pay to save face? That's all we're doing, is saving face. It's time we came home.
Gentlemen, thank you. Wendell.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the last month, we have had a pretense of having a debate about Afghanistan, but unfortunately, it's not much of a debate. We're deciding whether or not to send 40 or 80,000 troops over to Afghanistan. We can't even decide where the front lines are. But the worst part of this is just deja vu again, all about going to war needlessly. The same arguments we used in going into war against Iraq, that is weapons of mass destruction and Al-Qaeda, scare the people. It's in our national defense, it's in our national security interest to go there. And we continue. The Taliban never did a thing to us. The Taliban, we were paying them money up until May of 2001. They're not capable, even if they wanted to, they're not capable of touching us. So we're over there pursuing a war, spreading the war, going into Pakistan. The American people don't want it. We're out of money. We can't afford medical education here, and we're demanding that we send 40,000 troops to Afghanistan and expand the war. It's time to end the whole mess.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Time has expired, and the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul, is ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like we've had now a war going on for 8 years, into the 9th year, and from the discussion it looks like we're searching for a justification for it. What is the reason we're there? I think we got the cart before the horse. We've been fighting all this time, and it means that it isn't a management problem. It's a policy problem of how we got there, why we're there, and what we're doing. And besides, this type of debate about management, I can't imagine this type of debate going on in World War II. You know, we knew who the enemy was. We declared war. The president said he's the commander-in-chief, told the Congress what he needed. Now, that isn't an argument for the Congress not paying attention. It's an argument against the way we go to war. It looks like we have accepted this notion that perpetual war leads to perpetual peace. And we satisfy the military-industrial complex and the special interests and all these motivations just to stay in war endlessly. But even these 8 years, I don't see where the success is. Men die. Thousands of Afghanistans are displaced and die. It cost $250 billion, and we're still finding out, you know, what are we there for? Oh, well, if the Taliban takes over, who we used to, you know, get along with quite well, if they take over, all of a sudden, Al-Qaeda's going to be there and there's going to be another 9/11. This is making the assumption that 9/11 couldn't have occurred without these training camps in Afghanistan. Do you think those 19 guys went over there and did push-ups in those camps? There's no way. There's no way they were there doing those things. The report, when they studied 9/11, they said, well, there was a lot of planning going on in Germany, a lot of planning going on in Spain, and there were 15 of them were Afghans. I mean, if somebody really wanted to, I bet they could have talked the American people into bombing Saudi Arabia. I mean, 15 of them were Saudis. I imagine under those circumstances, the American people and the Congress could have been talked into bombing Saudi Arabia under those conditions. So I just don't see how we can continue to do this and come up with any sensible policy, because we never challenge, we never question whether preemptive war is a good strategy. And this is what this is all about. Preemptive war, starting wars, saying it's preventative. But this is a completely un-American approach to fighting wars, because under the original system, the people got behind the war, declared the war, knew who the enemy was, and we didn't come up with these strategies. Do we need 40,000 or 80,000 people? And who should we give the money to? Should we give it to this group? Why don't we ever ask the question? And this will be the question I'll leave with you. Why don't we as a Congress and the administration, the former administration as well as this one, why don't we ask the question, what is the motivation for somebody to attack us? And I don't think it's ever really asked, because I think there's a different answer than the assumption, oh, they hate us. They hate us for our freedoms and our wealth and this. And I don't believe that for a minute. I think the people in Afghanistan, the large majority, no matter what the reports are from the administration, our puppet administration, most people want us out of there. They don't want us in Pakistan. The people in Pakistan don't want us there. People in Iraq don't want us there. It's occupation. So my question is why is that never talked about, or why is it dismissed so easily? If indeed, if you study and you find out that people who are willing to sacrifice their life to make a point, it's because we are seen as foreign occupiers, just as the Soviets were seen as foreign occupiers, just as we joined those individuals who wanted to throw out the foreign occupiers in the past. And yet now we are. We learn nothing from history, both ancient history or even recent history. Why don't we pay more attention to the true motivations behind somebody who wants to commit suicide terrorism against us? Anybody care to answer?
In 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
I timed it.
Congressman, in 20 seconds, I can only tell you that some of us do pay a great deal of attention to what the ideology is that drives Al-Qaeda and affiliated groups to try to attack us. It's been articulated in tremendous detail in multiple books. It goes beyond not liking us because of our wealth and a variety of other things, and it has to do with the struggle within Islam that they see us participating in, whether we are present there or not. It is a very, very sophisticated strategy. It is a very, very sophisticated ideology, and it is extremely clear on what their intentions are and why.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Congressman Paul, I believe you are the only man on the stage who opposes the war in Iraq, who would bring the troops home as quickly as almost immediately, sir. Are you out of step with your party? Is your party out of step with the rest of the world? If either of those is the case, why are you seeking its nomination?
Well, I think the party has lost its way because the conservative wing of the Republican Party always advocated a non-interventionist foreign policy. Senator Robert Taft didn't want to be in NATO. George Bush won the election in the year 2000 campaigning on a humble foreign policy, no nation building, no policing of the world. Republicans were elected to end the Korean War. The Republicans were elected to end the Vietnam War. There's a strong tradition of being anti-war in the Republican Party. It is the constitutional position. It is the advice of the founders to follow a non-interventionist foreign policy. Stay out of entangling alliances. Be friends with countries. Negotiate and talk with them and trade with them. Just think of the tremendous improvement relationships with Vietnam. We lost 60,000 men. We came home in defeat. Now we go over there and invest in Vietnam. So there's a lot of merit to the advice of the founders and following the Constitution. And my argument is that we shouldn't go to war so carelessly. When we do, the wars don't end.
Congressman, you don't think that changed with the 9/11 attack, sir?
What changed?
The non-interventionist policies.
No, non-intervention was a major contributing factor. Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us? They attack us because we've been over there. We've been bombing Iraq for 10 years. We've been in the Middle East. I think Reagan was right. We don't understand the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics. So right now we're building an embassy in Iraq that's bigger than the Vatican. We're building 14 permanent bases. What would we say here if China was doing this in our country or in the Gulf of Mexico? We would be objecting. We need to look at what we do from the perspective of what would happen if somebody else did it to us.
Are you suggesting we invited the 9/11 attack, sir?
I'm suggesting that we listen to the people who attacked us and the reason they did it. And they are delighted that we're over there because Osama bin Laden has said, I am glad you're over on our sand because we can target you so much easier. They've already now, since that time, have killed 3,400 of our men, and I don't think it was necessary.
Wendell, may I make a comment on that? That's really an extraordinary statement. It's an extraordinary statement as someone who lived through the attack of September 11, that we invited the attack because we were attacking Iraq. I don't think I've ever heard that before, and I've heard some pretty absurd explanations for September 11. I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
Congressman?
I believe very sincerely that the CIA is correct when they teach and talk about blowback. When we went into Iran in 1953 and installed the Shah, yes, there was blowback. The reaction to that was the taking of our hostages, and that persists. And if we ignore that at our own risk. That if we think that we can do what we want around the world and not incite hatred, then we have a problem. They don't come here to attack us because we're rich and we're free. They come and they attack us because we're over there. I mean, what would we think if we were, if other foreign countries were doing that to us?
Can I have 30 seconds, please?
No, wait a second. We'll all get 30 seconds.
They are coming.
We all want 30 seconds to talk about this.
Wendell, go ahead. I think I want to turn to Senator McCain and change the subject, if I will. I don't think we're going to solve this tonight, gentlemen. An internet question for you. Senator Royce from Philadelphia asks if South Carolina should be free to fly the Confederate flag from state buildings.